What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Screen Sanctum. I'm Steve, and today I want to talk a little bit about Our Flag Means Death. Season 2, I was rewatching the trailer a couple of days ago, and of course today, and I took some notes that I want to talk about kind of from beginning to end, and then give my 2 cents on what I think might happen in Season 2, even though judging by the trailer and what we know, I don't think anyone has any idea about what's going to happen. So I could just simply go through it. And if you want, you could probably like play the trailer while you're listening and like stop. But I'm not actually going to play the trailer. I'm just going to talk. So all my notes are here. So mind my eyes. So the first thing that I see when I was watching it is kind of that Steed is a little bit delusional to me, right? I feel like, you know, Olawande is kind of a realist when he says, you know, Ed's going to probably kill you or try to murder you. I kind of feel like that might be true. Maybe not technically go and kill him, but I don't think he's going to be very nice to him once he sees him because of what Ed perceives rather than what Steed perceives. And then Steed is like, we're just on a break. So that's how you know that Steed is delusional. Like, he thinks nothing is really wrong. Nothing's the matter. He feels like, oh, everything's going to be great as soon as I get back to him because when we left, everything was great. But he doesn't realize in his head that even though he knows what happened, he accidentally murdered another guy. Like, he doesn't put 2 and 2 together to realize instead of that happening and then going to the docks, he did that and went home to Mary and his kids. So he's not even like considering what Ed feels. From Ed's point of view, Olawande's right. Like, you broke up with him. Ed was at the dock. No one showed up. And so what is he supposed to think? Like, he doesn't know what happened, so he left. So that was the first thing from the trailer. What do I have? I think Ed, going back to Blackbeard, is going to use his hurt to be more savage early in the season. So what I mean by this is kind of, I don't think his hurt is going to be romantic earlier in the season. I think he's going to use it to go from Ed back to Blackbeard, but to also just be like a more fearsome version of Blackbeard, because he also said, he's a new guy, no booze, no drugs. I feel like that means he's gonna like have a clearer head to get shit done. And then he said also no more Steed. Like, he has no distractions. Now he's 100% back as Blackbeard. He could do like whatever he wants. And this is kind of funny because it sounds like this is what Izzy originally wanted. All of season 1, he wanted to get his Blackbeard back. But as we see later in the trailer, Izzy is like buddying up with Steed. So what is that all about? I'll get to it, I think, a little bit later in this video. So continuing on into the trailer, it seems like Steed is following Ed, aka Blackbeard, around everywhere he goes, because we see that one point where he's like, hey, Ed, and the 2 ladies are like, oh, you know this guy? Steed says, they were shipmates. Ed says former. And they're like, oh, you broke up. And basically, everyone is saying it, like, you guys broke up. Steed broke up with Ed. Ed broke up with Steed. No one really knows, but that seems like it's going to be the running joke of the season. But it does seem like Steed is just following him around like a puppy dog. Like, he obviously, first thing he does is go to save his crew, and then he goes looking for Ed, and he just thinks like shit is going to be sweet when he gets there. Like, Ed's going to be like, oh, my love is back. Like, that's not the way it's going to work, in my opinion. The question I had on here is, why is Izzy friends with Steed now? Because we see he's training him to be a pirate, it looks like. And I have 3 kind of notations on what that could mean. The first one I said is to get back at Ed as a romance. Like, maybe for some reason, Izzy now likes Steed and he wants to get them back together. So he's like, hey, if you're a better pirate, Ed might take you seriously or something like that. Or Blackbeard might take you seriously. I highly doubt it has anything to do with romance. The second one I have is maybe Ed just went off the deep end and Izzy needs help kind of like reeling him in. Like, maybe Blackbeard is going too far. Like, Izzy wanted Blackbeard back, but maybe he's just like taking it to another level, and Izzy wants to kind of reel him in a little bit. So he's like, the only way I could do that is to get Steed. And he knows maybe that if he introduces Steed back with Ed, Ed's not going to take it well and probably want to fight. And he wants to get, Steed prepared to defend himself. I don't think it's that, but it was something that went through my head. The last thing I noted was something that Ed says towards the middle or end of the trailer. He says the storm's coming. So does that mean like there's a huge battle coming and it's like all hands on deck? So it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, where Izzy's like, listen, there's a whole bunch of people coming, probably led by that guy with no nose. We need as many people to fight as possible. And you're a shitty fighter, because literally last season he won, but he lost because of a stipulation. So maybe he really needs to train Steed because they need the help to fight. That could be it. And that's kind of what I think is happening, but I could be wrong. I'm always wrong. The next quote I have is when Steed says the entire escape relies on this. So this I have at that point in the trailer, the crew is together. So who are they trying to escape from? Are they trying to escape Blackbeard, a rival pirate? I'm guessing it's again that guy that has the fake nose. They're all wearing the same outfit at this point, I believe, when I joked that they look like the Guardians of the Galaxy. So maybe that's not clothing. Maybe that's like what the prisoners wear. But Black Pete has a crossbow. So I don't know, maybe they were in cells and they got out somehow and stole a crossbow. But then again, we see them later on. I think they're all partying wearing it. So I don't know. I don't know what he means by the entire escape relies on this. I don't think they're on the Revenge at that point either. So maybe they try to commandeer the ship of the guy that has the fake nose. Like they do something and then they have to escape and get off. That could be it. I have no idea. The next thing I saw, and I didn't actually see this when I watched it. One of you on Twitter actually pointed this out to me because you guys are the best. I remember obviously seeing the body fall in the water and drown. And I originally thought maybe that was a flashback to when Blackbeard threw Lucius over the edge and that was Lucius. But it's definitely not the most likely, because one of you pointed out that there's a point in the trailer where Ed is on a cliff with a random guy or a stranger that I've never seen before, and you notice that he has a rock tied to his leg. So was he forced to jump off the cliff? Like, did that guy make him do it? Like some sort of a trial? Because he was like wearing garb. He looked like Gandalf or something. Or was he like trying to kill himself? I don't think that would be it, only because there was somebody with him at the time. So I have a feel like maybe, I don't know. I was going to say maybe that man was going to push him off, but he looked way too calm. So he didn't look like he was going to kill himself. And that guy didn't look like he was there to push him off. So I felt like it was maybe a test. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? After this, we see they're all on the ship and they're all having a party. They're having so much fun together. But then you also see Roach and Olawande getting their heads crushed, like they're being tortured. Now, I don't know if they cut this scene different or maybe they were partying and they got captured and then they were tortured. But I do not know what they could possibly be celebrating at this point. If you think about pirating, what would cause someone to like celebrate like this? Because John was dressed as a mermaid with makeup. So maybe it was like a ball or like a planned party, or maybe they just had a battle and they won or they defended themselves. I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see. But again, what did you guys think of that part? After that is when we see the battle on the beach. Now, another thing that you guys pointed out is that we see, basically, not at the same time, I'm just saying, we see Ed sword fighting on the beach, and we also see Izzy, and we also see Steed fighting on the beach. But then we see someone walking out of the ocean, which everyone thinks, and I think it's a great observation, that the person walking out of the ocean was the person who was either thrown or jumped off the cliff with the rock, and that would be Ed Blackbeard. So that would mean, if I go back to my theory, is maybe it was a test that he had to jump off with this rock on his leg, and he had to figure a way out of it. And he did. And he washed upon that shore. Did he wash upon it like right when the battle was started? Did he get there and then the battle started? But we all know from the trailer that they're all on that beach fighting what seems like together. So I'm guessing maybe that is like the fight that they talked about earlier. I don't know. I don't know, but only 2 more weeks until we find out. What else do we have? Oh, Izzy says piracy is not about glory, it's about belonging to something. Now, that one is actually, I don't think it's like it's cut where it seems like it's one of those cuts that the two cuts don't like mesh together. But I actually think it is a legitimate cut where he's talking to that pirate with no nose. So I feel like maybe he's one of those pirates that are doing it for all the wrong reasons. Like, as much as Steed isn't really incompetent, he's not a great pirate, but he was very good to his crew. He paid them. He actually, he lived that code. Like, Steed did that for a family. Like, he wasn't a pirate for the wrong reasons. He wanted to be a pirate for those reasons that Izzy said in this trailer. So maybe this guy, all he wants is the glory and the gold and things like that, like legend. But though, isn't that what Blackbeard did? You could argue that. But then again, Blackbeard's crew is really, really close-knit. So as savage as he is when he takes over ships, that's not how he is typically with Izzy and Fang and everyone. They seem like a family. So, everyone seems to abide by that code that, like, it's not for the glory, but this new guy seems to just want to be rich and famous and have glory thrown upon him. So that's what I think that means. Then we get that nice clip of Lucius and Frenchie pulling the guy down. So what is Lucius actually up to? I think this is going to be the biggest surprise or mystery to me, I guess, because when it comes to which characters are going to have like the biggest plots in this season, I think it's basically Ed, Steed, and Lucius for the most part. I don't really think anyone else is going to have that big of an arc or like major things happening to them. They're all going to have a story, obviously, but I think season 2 is really going to concentrate on Steed, Ed, and Lucius, and probably Izzy too. Since we see he has a peg leg with a horse's hoof on it. So either Ed got angrier and chopped his leg off, or when he bit his toe off, he developed gangrene and he had to get his leg amputated. That's probably what I think. But what could Lucius be up to? Like, what is his motivation now? The last we saw of him, obviously, Ed pushed him overboard. Basically, like, you don't push somebody overboard if you're not trying to kill them. So Lucius can't just forget or think, oh, he was just being playful. Like, you don't playfully throw somebody into the ocean. Like, he was trying to kill him. So is Lucius's like arc revenge? Like, is Steed trying to get to Ed to get him back as his partner, his lover, while on the other side of the spectrum, Lucius is also trying to get to Ed to kill him? So imagine at some point during the season, Ed is somewhere and like Steed gets to him and Lucius gets to him at the same time, or Lucius is like somehow got the upper hand and is ready to like slice his throat and Steed walks in. That would be crazy, but I don't, that's the only thing I could think of that Lucius would really be motivated, at least in the beginning of the season. So I don't know. But it is interesting that at some points in the trailer, you could tell that most of the crew, well, all of the crew that he kind of kidnapped, all have the same face paint as Blackbeard does. I mean, Jim has it on their beard. But some of the other ones, I think Frenchie has it on his eyes. But, you know, that to me leads me to believe that they weren't there initially under their own free will, but I feel like they enjoy it now and they're with Blackbeard like for good. So we'll see what happens with Lucius. The last thing I have on my list is when we see at the very end of the trailer, Swede is at Spanish Jackie's. So my question is, and I think everyone's question might be, what is he doing there? Is he working for her? Or is somehow the Swede now one of her new husbands? I could see him being a husband. That would be pretty dope because Spanish Jackie has tons of husbands, but you don't cross her or she'll kill you or she'll chop your nose off and put it in the nose jar. But those are the little points that I kind of picked out from the trailer itself. But now, like thinking, putting it all together and, you know, going through it in my head, like, what does this all mean? And to be totally honest with you, I don't know. So it's hard for me to predict what's going to happen. But all I could think of is Ed is kind of stuck in his ways where he feels like he was left at the altar, which he was. So I think, as I said earlier, he's going to use this and harness this negative energy, not to sulk because he misses Steed initially. I think, like I said, he's going to use it to be a more fiercer version of Blackbeard. But I also do think there will be things like sprinkled in when we saw like the wedding and he was there. I think they're framing it that he's crashing a wedding. I have a feeling that he's on a ship, you know, and there just happens to be a wedding there. And maybe he's going to just take even more joy in that because of that. And it has to remind him of Steed, but I don't think that he like went out looking for something like that just because he's, you know, upset about missing his lover. So again, I feel like in that scene, he's just like commandeering a ship or taking over a ship. Happens to be a wedding there, and it just gives him even more joy to ruin somebody's day, you know. But that's what I take of that. So I feel like Steed is going to be chasing him around the whole season, judging by that scene in the trailer where he's like, Ed, you know, that's probably not the first time he saw him because I don't think he would react that way if it was the first time. And Ed's reaction kind of came off like he was just annoyed that he just won't go away. You know, he's trying to move on and this guy is just following him. So how do I think they're going to reunite? Do I think they're going to reunite? My answer is I do think they will. I think it's going to be later in the season, like literally reuniting as, I would say, partners. Because I have a feeling, and I could be wrong because you're never guaranteed another season, but I feel like this season will end with them kind of like being on good terms. And the next season is when I think the relationship will blossom again. So everyone wants to see, I know I saw a lot of polls, how many times are they going to kiss this season? I actually think it's going to be 0. I feel like the romantic portion of this season is going to be Olawande and Jim, because we do see Jim with, you know, those 2 other ladies. They're there with them. So maybe, you know, she's mixing it up with more than one person because she was separated from Olu. So maybe, I apologize. They were separated from Olawande. So maybe they're just like, I got to do my thing. I don't even know where this guy is. You know, he could be dead. And it's kind of funny because in the world of pirates, what Jim would be doing isn't anything crazy. I'm sure in those days, everyone just did it with everyone and it was fine and open. But when you think of everyone on this cast, like who would be the least likely to actually participate in something like that? I think Olawande. I think Olu is a one-person man. and Jim probably, doesn't care. Not that they don't care, but I feel like they're more open. I think Olu is probably the only one on that ship who is just like, he loves Jim and only wants Jim and wouldn't live a life of like polygamy or anything like that. But it's really cute. But hopefully Jim and Olu get back together because that's the relationship that I love because they're my two favorite characters pretty much. Yeah, I feel like what's going to bring Ed and Steve together more as friends than anything is that war that's coming because they're going to have to fight together and they're going to have to trust each other in the battle to defeat whoever it is. And like I said, I don't think they're going to bring that romance back this season as much as we all want to see it. And I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like that's going to be the cliffhanger for season 3. So, as I said, the 3 people who should have the biggest, I guess, screen time for the season to me again, Ed, obviously, Steed, obviously, and Lucius. Those are my thoughts. So, I don't know. Maybe you feel a little bit differently than I do. So I would love to hear what you all think. So if you see this video, just let me know in the comments below. Do you agree with anything I said? I'm not an expert on this show like you guys are. I've watched it, I think, 3 times, which for me is a lot for a series, but I know you guys have watched it probably 10 to 20 times. So you've definitely seen more like subtext and clues, and you've probably watched and picked apart this trailer tens and tens of times. So I don't need anyone to agree with me. I don't mind being wrong. I just enjoy talking about this show because it's such a great show. So if you see this, let me know in the comments what parts of what I said do you agree with? What parts do you not agree with? And that's pretty much it. So, on that note, I think that's all I got. I really do. So yeah, let me know. What did you think of my theories? Again, if you sub to my channel, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you want to see my full reactions, because my Our Flag Means Death full watch-alongs will be up on Patreon, so you could check it out. My Gentleman Pirates tier is $3, and you could watch all of my Our Flag Means Death watch-along videos. They're full, so you just have to sync it up. And then I'll be doing live streams like I did last year. And then once the season is done, we can do more watch-alongs. Yeah, and that's all I have. So, all right. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, guys.